Freedom Caucus for bowling and pizza at the White House. Democrats, meanwhile, are standing firm in opposition to the replacement bill, saying millions will lose health insurance coverage. But is there room to negotiate with the man who authored the art of the deal? I met up with Senator Cory Booker at the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas over the weekend and asked about the Democrats' next moves. Senator Booker, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been very critical of the Republican approach to repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. I know you object to what the Republicans are doing, but don't Democrats have an obligation to help fix this bill?
Well, clearly, that would be great if they were coming with an open heart to saying, hey, this is not perfect, let's fix it. Now, let's be clear. Even before the Affordable Care Act, I was a mayor of a city dealing with healthcare costs. They were going up significantly. So don't put this all on the ACA. I don't think you'll find a Democrat or Republican in the Senate who wouldn't honestly tell you that things weren't perfect before. And what we're saying in the Democratic Party is let's build upon it, let's fix it. The first time that Medicare was put into office, or Social Security, these are laws and legislation decades old now, but they have been improved by successive generations to preserve them and make them better. What we see now, though, which is actually, I'm not exaggerating, is frightening to me, when Brookings just comes out and says that we're looking at about 15 million Americans losing their insurance.
So why not get in there, roll up your sleeves, and try to improve? Look, Republicans are going to repeal and replace Obamacare. It's happening, and they have a president who will sign it into law. Don't you, as a member of the Senate, have an obligation to get in there, join them, and try to improve the bill?
Well, I mean, that's really where we are. The Republicans cannot just force this down our throats. It's going to knock a lot of folks off, hurt long-term care, hurt good working-class folks. So I don't understand this almost. I don't understand what their political strategy, because this is bad politics, but deeper than that is bad policy and bad process.
Let me ask you about drugs, because that's obviously an important part of health care. And you know Bernie Sanders was very critical of you and 12 other Democrats for voting against a bill that would have allowed the importation of drugs from Canada. I know that you've answered as to why you voted that way, but he was very harsh. He said you and the other Democrats lacked the guts to stand up to the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, first of all, you know that was not a bill. That was
it was
a resolution. It was
Okay.
not even something that, if everybody in the Senate voted, would have changed one thing. It was a late-night resolution during a vote-a-rama that some of us were asking is, hey, put some safety requirements on it. They weren't put on, and so I went right to work. I said, hey, Bernie, to Senator Sanders, excuse me, let's work together. Senator Casey, Senator Sanders, and I put our heads together, worked on a bill that is incredible. Not only will it allow imports, but it gives the safety guarantees that a lot of us were concerned about. This has nothing to do with pharma, it doesn't do with courage. It's about good legislation, because while most Canadians are getting access to really high quality drugs, if we just did that without the kind of safety provisions we put in there, you could see rogue pharmacies popping up, rebranding drugs coming in from other countries and saying these are now Canadian drugs. So we put things like track and trace technology and other things to make sure our consumers are getting quality drugs.
So you know that there are progressives out there who are looking for a white knight and were disappointed in that vote. And in addition, I think in 2014 you were the #1 recipient of donations from pharmaceutical companies and executives of them. How can these people who are very wary of big pharma and very wary of the fact that rising drug prices is one of the main reasons why healthcare costs are going up so much, that you're going to be on their side and not the side of all these pharmaceutical companies that are in your state?
I'm a big believer that life is about what you do and not what you say. And so my performance in the Senate when it comes to issues that really are important to my community, like, please understand this, a lot of folks in the Senate go home. I go home to Newark, New Jersey, Central Ward, a community of folks who are working class folks who are battling every day against rising rents, rising college costs, a lot of the challenges we're facing. That's where my loyalty lies. And we're trying to, in the Senate, my team is trying to focus on that. So when it comes to pharmaceutical prices, they're too high. And if you look at my performance in the Senate, whether it's a bill I just did with Senator Sanders or talking and working about other ways to lower prescription drugs. In fact, go back to when I was a mayor, we had ways to, we did an incredibly innovative program to lower prescription drug costs and get more people into preventative care. So my work and and you know this from my history, what got me into politics in the first place was representing low-income communities. I still live in a census tract where the median income is $14,000 per individual. That's where my loyalty lies. I haven't put anything out there ever that's contrary to that.
But let's talk about those people in Newark, New Jersey, especially the kids of Newark, New Jersey. When you were a city councilman and then when you were mayor of Newark, New Jersey, you seemed to have an open mind when it came to issues having to do with charter schools and school choice. You pissed off a lot of teachers' unions, you pissed off a lot of Democrats. Last month you voted against Betsy DeVos to be Education Secretary, and one of your former allies, Peter Denton from Excellent Education from Everyone, said that you have, quote, turned into a partisan political player. Put aside Betsy DeVos for a second.
Right.
Okay? Where are you on the issue of whether or not kids in places like Newark, New Jersey should have the option to go to a public charter school, or whether or not actually there should even be more choice potentially in education?
Well, let's get out of this idea that there are charters are bad or good, or traditional district schools are bad or good. I'm a big believer in great schools, and every kid should have a public access to them. And Newark is the best model. In fact, we're the number 2 ranked city in America for quality public charter schools. More than that, we're the number 1 city in America for what's called beat the odds schools, high poverty, high performance. Since the time I became mayor to now, if you're a poor black kid in Newark, or if you're a black kid period in Newark, your chances of going to a high-performing school went up 300%.
But have you forgotten that? I guess that's the question. This happens to Democrats who are reformer types like yourself. We saw it with Barack Obama.
But how could you ask me that question? How can you ask me that question where for the D.C. bill that has scholarships in it, charter schools in it, who rewrote that bill? I did. I opposed Betsy DeVos. Why? Because the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Education is something that's really important, helping transgender students, helping black students, and issues of equity that were unacceptable to me, and a number of other reasons. I didn't want to support her to be the Secretary of Education. But when it comes to my record for supporting what I believe that any child born in any zip code in America should have a high quality school, and I don't care if that's a charter school or a traditional district school. If it's a bad school, I'm going to fight against it. Just like I supported charter school closures in Newark that weren't serving the genius of my kids. So I haven't changed one iota. Look at what I'm doing. Look at what I stand for. We should have great education.
In the hearings for Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, you asked him about pledging to bring the press with him when he traveled around the world. He pledged that he would be transparent, that he would support full transparency. He is about to go to Asia on his first major trip to Asia as Secretary of State. He is not bringing any reporters with him. Did he go back on his pledge to you?
Look, what I'm seeing now with the Secretary of State, and I hope he kind of gets it, because it's outrageous that there's no transparency, that there's no accountability. We are at a crisis in our country.